The moment I saw the sheriff's cruiser pull up to my lake cabin, I thought something terrible had happened. But no, turns out the HOA president had called 911 on me for moving my deployed son's belongings. By the time it was over, she'd lose everything, and Whispering Pines would never have an HOA again. I had just backed my old Ford into the gravel driveway, engine still humming, when I spotted her, Karen Whitmore. Tan slacks, wedge sandals, phone already in hand, marching toward me like she owned the whole damn shoreline. "Excuse me," she snapped. "You can't do that here." I leaned out the window, confused, or pretending to be. "Do what, exactly?" She pointed at the trailer hitched to my truck like it was radioactive. "Unauthorized moving activity. HOA approval required for all large deliveries." "My son's being deployed overseas," I said, stepping out and lifting the latch on the trailer. "I'm just storing his stuff at our cabin." "Not that I need your permission for that." Karen gasped like I'd just confessed to arson. "Military or not, this is private property governed by HOA rules. You're disrupting the neighborhood." Behind me, the American flag on our porch flapped in the wind. My son Curtis had put it there himself before shipping out. I tried to stay calm. "I've lived here longer than you've been bossing people around," I told her. "You don't get to dictate what I do on my own land." Her lips tightened. "Oh, you'll regret that," she hissed, already dialing. I stared at her in disbelief. "You're calling 911 because I'm unloading boxes. I'm calling about a violation of HOA Code 3B, she said smugly, and for threatening me. "Lady," I said, walking right past her. "I've said maybe 10 words to you. You're not even worth raising my voice over." But, sure enough, 20 minutes later, a county cruiser rolled up. The deputy stepped out looking bored. "We got a call about a disturbance," he said. Before I could answer, Karen launched into a speech about aggressive behavior and unauthorized materials. I handed the officer a copy of Curtis's deployment orders. "He's Army," I said quietly. "Got shipped out this week. Just storing his gear, no laws broken here." The deputy skimmed the papers, nodded once, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, this isn't a criminal matter. The HOA isn't the law. And calling 911 for this, that's abuse of emergency services." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. He gave me a nod and left. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. But the next morning I woke up to a notice nailed to my cabin door, violation of HOA Code 3B. Fine, $750. Failure to pay may result in lien. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I stood on the porch, the paper fluttering in the breeze like a threat nailed to a saloon door. They thought they could scare me into submission. Not this time. Inside, I poured myself stale coffee, opened the old wooden roll-top desk my grandfather built, and pulled out a thick binder labeled Whispering. For years, I'd kept every HOA newsletter, budget, and report just in case. Old zoning board habits die hard. I started flipping through the latest statements. The numbers didn't add up. They'd claimed $32,000 spent on shoreline gravel improvement. I'd seen that project. It was 4 wheelbarrows of crushed rock behind the clubhouse. Something stunk. I cross-referenced the vendor, listed no website, no phone number, no state registration. Just a P.O. box under the name Karen Whitmore. That's when I realized this wasn't just overreach, it was fraud. By noon, I was at the county clerk's office. The clerk, a woman named Leslie, gave me a long look when I said Whispering Pines HOA. "You a homeowner there?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "They fined me for helping my deployed son. Now I've got questions." "Don't we all?" she muttered, handing me a folder an inch thick. "You're not the first." Inside were filings amendments and vendor contracts. The bylaws had been changed 3 years ago, right after Karen became chair. The new rules let the board issue fines without a vote and suspend the voting rights of anyone who refused to comply. Then I saw the kicker contract signed by a treasurer who'd been dead for months when the papers were dated. I copied everything and drove straight to the sheriff's main office. Deputy Peyton, the same one from the cabin, looked up when I walked in. "Back so soon?" he asked. This time I said, setting the binder down, "I'm not unloading boxes. I think the HOA's been forging documents and stealing from the neighborhood." He flipped through the binder and whistled low. "You brought receipts." Within minutes, I was in a back room with Detective Libby Cruz, sharp eyes, calm voice, the kind of woman who didn't waste words. After reading the files, she looked up. Anyone else seen this? Not yet. Good. You didn't tell Karen you were coming here. I shook my head. She leaned back. You might want to get a lawyer, not because you're in trouble, because this is about to get ugly. When I got home that night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the binder. For the first time, I felt something close to doubt. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe I should have just paid the fine and let it go. What if I was wrong? What if she could make life hell for me? Jasper, my son's mutt, wandered over and rested his head on my knee. Just that little gesture, loyal steady, snapped me back. No, I wasn't wrong. I was done being pushed around. The next morning, I pinned a big sign on the community bulletin board. Emergency homeowners meeting, financial irregularities and board misconduct. Saturday, 5 p.m. By that evening, word had spread like wildfire. When Saturday rolled around, the room was packed dozens of neighbors, retirees, young couples, even the quiet guy from the A-frame cabin. I stood at the front with copies of the fake invoices and forged signatures. My voice didn't shake. The HOA's been stealing from you, I said simply, and I have proof. I handed out the papers. Murmurs filled the room. Then I read the affidavit from the daughter of the dead treasurer confirming her mother was in hospice when the contracts were signed. A man in sunglasses, Vince, stood up trying to laugh it off. Mistakes happen. That's not a mistake, I said, holding up the document. That's fraud. And the sheriff's department agrees they've opened an investigation. Before he could respond, the back doors swung open. Detective Cruz walked in with 2 deputies. Harold Denise Vince, she said, voice echoing off the walls. Step outside, please. They froze. Then one by one they followed her out. Karen wasn't there, but her little empire had just collapsed. After the meeting, neighbors crowded around, some angry, some relieved. We voted that night to suspend the HOA board and freeze its accounts. For the first time in years, people actually smiled at each other again. I thought maybe it was over, but Cruz called the next morning. There's something you need to see, she said. At the county records annex, she opened a locked cabinet and laid out 2 nearly identical land documents. Same date, same signature, same parcel numbers. But one declared the land residential, while the other never officially filed allowed commercial development. That second one, Cruz said, was used to get funding from a private group tied to Doug Whitmore, Karen's husband. I stared at the papers. How much money? Over $800,000, she said. Laundered through fake improvement projects. I felt sick. They'd built an entire criminal operation off our HOA dues. Over the next few days, things moved fast. Greg Taylor, my neighbor, found his own fraudulent invoices charges for shoreline repairs that never happened. He helped organize a small committee to gather records, and when he started clearing out the old clubhouse, he made one final discovery. A filing cabinet bolted to the wall. When he pried it loose, the drywall cracked, revealing a hidden panel and behind it a locked safe. Cruz came with a warrant. We all stood in silence as the locksmith cracked it open. Inside were burner phones, a ledger full of shows, payments, and manila envelopes. Each one contained private info, bank statements, credit checks, even medical records. Cruz's jaw tightened. This is blackmail material. They'd been spying on us, using dirt to control anyone who questioned them. I pulled out my envelope. Inside were photos of Curtis in uniform and a printout of his deployment orders, the same one I'd shown the deputy. How the hell did they get that? This is disgusting, I said quietly. Cruz nodded. It's not just fraud anymore, it's conspiracy. Within 48 hours, federal agents raided the Whitmore's house. Doug was arrested for wire fraud and misuse of federal grant funds. Karen was caught fleeing to Vermont. The story hit the local news lake. HOA scandal unravels fraud ring. But I didn't care about headlines. I just cared that it was finally over. At least that's what I thought. Turns out, Karen's group had tried to file one more set of forged papers applications for county redevelopment grants that would have given them power to seize properties from anyone who defaulted on fines. Eminent domain. They were planning to steal people's homes. We handed everything to the feds. Over 40 homeowners gave sworn statements, and for once justice didn't crawl, it ran. When the indictments came down, the HOA was officially dissolved. Its accounts frozen, its assets seized. Karen's last words during arrest caught on camera were, "You can't do this, I am the HOA." "No, lady, you were." And just like that, the neighborhood was free. For years, they'd ruled through fear and paperwork. But in the end, it was paperwork that destroyed them. Sometimes, all it takes to stop a bully is a stack of receipts, a steady hand, and the will to say enough.